Well, I would say that in the 10 years I was in AC Milan, AC Milan was top 2 clubs in the world.
There was the most insane comeback, I would say, in the history of Champions League. How do you remember that match?
Yeah, I don't remember actually. I cancelled it from my memories.
Did you talk with the managers why you weren't called up?
No, I never spoke with Van Marwijk, for example. He never called me. I always kept my motivation to continue to show that they're making a big mistake not calling me.
I had the same feeling about him, and I didn't even speak to him. Is he the best manager in the world?
Well, the numbers are clear.
Zdravíme naše diváky ve skluzu, naše posluchače. Máme pro vás speciální díl s Michalem.
Velmi speciální.
Díl, který vás, doufujeme, bude hodně bavit, protože je s námi ve studiu jediný hráč na světě, který dokázal Ligu mistrů vyhrát se 3 týmy. Borec, který to dokázal 4krát v rámci Ligy mistrů. Je to bývalý reprezentant nizozemská Clarence Seedorf. Clarence, welcome here. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Have you ever been in a smaller studio or?
Yeah, we've seen all kinds of studios. Today is not about the size, no? It's about the quality.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
We are under pressure now. We should introduce ourselves. Me and Vojta, we are both commentators, and we know about you that, of course, you used to play football, but you used to do our job in past your career. For example, during the World Cup for Fox US and Globo Brazil. Now, if I'm not mistaken, with Amazon Prime UK and Italy.
Yeah.
How is the job for you? Is it harder than playing football?
Oh, it's different, of course. I started in 2010 when I was still playing with BBC during the World Cup in South Africa. It's nice because you see from both sides, you see what is happening on the other side as well. It's interesting to follow, especially now that I'm finished playing. You can still follow from close what is happening, being next to the pitch. In the studio is different, but being next to the pitch is what we do with Prime TV, and you can still see in the warm-ups what is happening. Like in the last 2 matches with Liverpool and Atletico against Real, we had the extra time, and extra time we were right there watching it. So you can see the emotions, you can transmit that to the people. I think it's very nice, and we have, of course, the possibility to transmit some things that from a player perspective that the people home like to hear. So it's very nice. Mm-hmm.
Do you think if you are doing, for example, some interviews with Real Madrid players, they are like telling you more than they would say to us because you are
maybe they are
you
more
played
open
for Real Madrid?
No, look, it's not so much about the interviews. I think what we do is the pre-game, an hour and a half, 1 hour, preparing the people at home for what they can expect from both teams, from all different angles, mentality, the physical aspect, the tactical aspect, and then every now and then we do some questions. But having been in their shoes, we also are very much objective in understanding the moment. Like Ancelotti, for example, in the last match, I asked him 3 questions, but he was so tired. He was
really?
He was exhausted. I never heard him this tired in interviews after the match. So you change your question as well, because at that point it's useless to go and push for certain things, and you keep it light. You have maybe 1 question, which I asked about Vinicius Junior, if it was him that asked to go out or that Ancelotti chose to take him out. And so you keep it simple. And I think that is the advantage when you have played and have been there, have coached as well. So after matches sometimes it's not the right timing to go and to open certain topics.
We use sometimes our experts to go with us for the interviews because the players are more open there. So sometimes it works, sometimes it not. But I have 1 question. Do you felt more nervous as a player or as a commentator during some important match?
No, I don't. I think feeling a little bit of tension is always good because it comes with the performance. but I don't think I can talk about being nervous. And it's true that players, of course, let's say with Prime TV, if they know I'm there, they're more open to come and have the interview. Sometimes, for example, we got Kaká, we got Ibrahimovic, and a few, and that had to do because I was also there. So then they feel comfortable to come, and they say easier yes. Now, if the questions are not the right ones, then they will still answer the same way.
You were talking about like being nervous or something like that. I watched an interview when you were just 16 years old, and you said yourself, "I don't like talking about myself, but yes, I'm going to succeed." It doesn't seem like you were nervous even when you're 16 years old. How did you know that you will succeed? Because you obviously did.
Yeah, well, I think that for any youngster that is watching as well, I think you need to believe in yourself, you know. And I think many youngsters, they do believe in themselves, but then there comes a moment where they might not be performing as well, and you start having doubts. And I think that is the moment where you actually need to believe more. And then the other thing is that if you want to achieve important things in life, you need to project them in a positive way. And I think I did that naturally. Maybe you know, now I understand the power of that, to project myself in on the highest level, to see success in the future, and then of course work very hard for it, because nothing comes for free. That's for sure.
Can you point out the moment when you looked into the mirror and said, "I did it, like I succeeded"?
Oh, not really. I don't think I ever did that. And I think.
So never satisfied?
Well, it's just always wanting to become better. So I think that phrase has never come in my mind. There was always a reason why to set new goals until the end, and enjoy it as well. And I never felt like, yeah, you made it, but what did you really make? I mean, in sports, especially football, every time you achieve something, then the next season starts again with the same objectives, and so it's ongoing. So really, I think every time you look in the mirror, is that how can I improve myself more? What can I do better still? How can I maintain myself at the highest level, which is very hard as well. So that has been more the mindset. Yeah,
I think it's a really good mentality of being successful. When you're talking about 16 years old, by the way, I was like 6 months years old, and you were not even born. So
now you make me feel very old.
Yeah, when you have your debut in Ajax in professional football.
Yes.
And what could you say about Ajax these days? Because they were like Cliver, you, Davids. So how do you remember these days?
That was incredible. I mean, we had so many young talents that grew up in the Ajax system, of course, and then having 3 years of only successes, winning the League Cups, Super Cups, and then the Champions League. I mean, we were living a dream. Not really conscious of what we actually achieved. That came maybe some years later. But it was amazing to see my teammates, especially Patrick, that I grew up with since we were 10, to have an amazing career and celebrate with Ajax, you know, such important achievements.
It wasn't only with Ajax; it was obviously with AC Milan and Real Madrid. We sometimes have Marek Jankulovsky in our studio as a pundit, and we showed him one picture when he was like around, I would say, one of the best players that ever played the game. You were part of that team, and we want to show you that picture and ask you about it, because if you look at this picture, it has written respect all over it. No doubt. There is Beckham, you obviously, Shevchenko, Ronaldinho, and we could go.
Team.
Yeah, we could go like few years back, and there was Cafu and players like that. It's unbelievable. How was it to play in that team? And did you realize at that time how like special that team is?
Well, I would say that in the 10 years I was in AC Milan, AC Milan was top 2 clubs in the world. So it was actually normal for us to have all these amazing players in the team, because now you're talking about the first 11, but if you would put the bench, then we would still have like incredible names sitting on the bench in those years. That has been the norm for AC Milan, like it was the norm for Real Madrid, to have like 20 top players in the team. And we definitely, when Marek was an amazing player in those years, I think we had quality in all the positions, and yeah, that has changed a little bit now. But if I look back at that AC Milan, we can be really proud of having been part of an amazing years of crazy talent. Yeah.
You mentioned it. Sorry, you mentioned that it's a little bit changed now, like AC Milan 20 years ago and now. Why do you think it changed? Like, there's no such big names. Maybe in Serie A also, like a lot of players go from Serie A to Premier League to Spain and so on. Why do you think?
Yeah, well, it's money. Money definitely makes a difference, but I think also the management has changed over the years. AC Milan came back a few years ago when Paolo Maldini was there with Pioli. Had 2 great seasons, winning the league and then coming near the Champions League final as well, semi-final. But then some choices can make or break a cycle, a process. And I think Milan needs to rebuild again. I think there's enough talent there. I don't believe the differences are so big among all the teams in Europe. It's more the mental part that will really make a difference, and I think that has to be rebuilt. Because when we were playing, we had top professionals in our team, all guys who were men, winners. Now you see a lot of young boys actually playing, which makes a difference in important moments.
We don't want to talk about negative things with you, but there are 2 moments which are very important for Czech football fans. One is connected with AC Milan and its Champions League final 2005, which looked like you are going to win. You were leading 3-0 after the halftime, and after that there was the most insane comeback, I would say, in the history of Champions League. How do you remember that match? Milan Baroš and Vladimír Šmícer was part of it on the Liverpool side. So Czech fans are always looking back at this match.
Yeah, I don't remember actually. I cancelled it from my memories. No, I mean,
So remember that just 2007, eh?
Yes. No, it's sport. It's football. That is. What can you do? It's 6 minutes of craziness, and then it was like destiny. We probably played the best final in history, one of the best finals in history of the Champions League, but you didn't win, and that happens. We struggled to come in the final with the semi-final. Probably we didn't even deserve to be in the final. PSV actually was a better team, but we brought it home, and then the same thing happened with us in the final. But that is part of the game.
If you want to get successful in every sport, you must accept defeats and learn from them. Was this the hardest defeat of your career, or can you remember another match from your career?
No, this was not the hardest, because I think you still reached the final. You played well. You did everything that you could. So what can you say? You have to accept, which obviously as athletes and sportsmen we know how to do that. You lose more than you win matches anyway. So, but there was one season where I think that was the best season of AC Milan, where we won the league, we won the cup, and we should have won the Champions League that year. Was in I think it was 2004 most likely, where we lost against Deportivo La Coruña. We had a 4-1 lead, and then we lost 4-0 in La Coruña. Very unexpected, and that was the year that Mourinho won with Porto. So we are actually responsible for his launch in his career.
Well, yeah. If we are talking about negative things, I will ask you about the other question, so we can move to the positive things.
Well, it is experiences. I don't mark them as negative or positive. Negative or positive. I think the important is the journey. really, because you cannot always think to win everything, right? So that is just not realistic. And that's why we bounced back, and that's why, 2 years later we came back in the final. Actually, the year after we were supposed to go in the final again, but then we didn't have VAR, so the Barcelona match was not in our favor. But again, this is part of sports, and especially in sports, you need to enjoy the journey, winning and losing. Yeah.
I love that you are looking at it like this. I'm talking about 2004 Euros. Mm-hmm. Both Czech Republic and Netherlands went to the semifinals, so we are even. But in the group stage, there was another crazy match, which is like written in the Czech history of Czech football. Yeah. Because if somebody wants to watch some memorable match, I would say in England they would call it classic.
Mm-hmm. I've seen it like 100 times.
Yes, they would watch Netherlands versus Czech Republic, another turnaround for Czech Republic, victory 3-2, I think 3-2.
Yeah.
And you were part of that match as well. Mm-hmm. Can you remember this match and what was happening in your mind?
No, as I said before,
another cancelled memory.
Yes, I can. I try to keep the positive memories. Probably that is an automatic thing as well, because what can you do with those that you lost and We didn't play our best match, I believe, in that match, but Czech Republic had an amazing team, so very talented, and it was clear that the two would be able to go and move ahead in the championship at that point. But I don't have a lot of clear memories of the match. I just know a few of the players, of course. That stood out and had an amazing time in that moment of their career as well. Nedved's one of them, but Portugal was a strange tournament, and we had a particular end of it as well with Greece winning. Yeah. So
we all know here.
We are asking the same question till now. How the hell the Greece won the Euros?
Well, first of all, they didn't have such a bad team as people might think. It was not all that bad, of course. They needed that little bit of luck, which they had, but they defended very well. They had enough quality to score goals, and they make life difficult against all the big teams. And when you're in such a momentum, it's like Denmark in 90, what was it? Denmark in 94. No, 94, no, 92. I think 92, when they were called back in with a wild card to participate, and then they won it against the Netherlands semi-final, I believe, with penalties. And they ended up as winners without having done any pre-season before the tournament. So history tells us that sometimes things happen. That's the beauty of sports. And I think they're still celebrating it in Greece every year with the legends, rightfully so.
You won a lot of trophies at the clubs, but no trophy with your national team. So it's something you're missing amongst your trophies.
Well, the difference is that with my clubs, my performance was the determining factor to play and to be able to contribute. With the national team, you need to be picked to be part of that and to contribute. And unfortunately, for 8 years, I wasn't picked for the 2010, 2006. In my prime, I was not picked for the national team, and there were a lot of debates on it. But what can I do? I cannot do more than being among the best in the world in those years, and so yes, of course, it's something that is missing for the sportsman. But on the other hand, I can't complain about what my career has given me.
Did you talk with the managers why you weren't called up?
No, I never spoke with Van Marwijk, for example. He never called me. He called Van Bommel back, and I was playing with him at the same time at AC Milan at that point. And Van Basten did call me back after a few years, after 2006. Then he called me back, but it was clear he was not really convinced about how to use me or to use me. And so that is the Netherlands. That is also one of the reasons why the Netherlands is not really get the max out of the potential, because now it's better. I think now, let's say, the best players are generally called, and those times there were some other things going on. So unfortunately, but as I said, that is also part of the journey, and I always kept my motivation to continue to show that they're making a big mistake not calling me.
Let's go for another questions about, maybe I would mention Carlo Ancelotti, because you mentioned him before, and now he's coach of Real Madrid, and he was always like really successful. So what could you say about him and how he changed in your eyes?
Well, Carlo Ancelotti, I think, is a very special manager. We had an amazing group, amazing relationship with him during our AC Milan period. And I think that he evolved constantly, and you could see that in his staff as well. He ended up with his son as his assistant, but his son, when we were playing at AC Milan, was like a little kid running in the dressing room with us, you know, and then seeing that also happening over the years is a beautiful thing. And I think he innovated, he renovated his team around him to keep him also on top, which is not an easy thing to do. But the most important characteristic of Ancelotti, I think, is his authenticity and creating the right environment for big talents, big names, great players, and a group to be able to have their responsibility. So the freedom that he gives comes also with the responsibility. So he treats you as an adult, he treats you as a professional that knows what you need to do. But on the other hand, it also creates that sense of responsibility towards him, because you gave me more freedom. I want to also show you that I can handle that. And then when difficult moments come, generally what I've seen, the teams, they would run also for him. Because when you have a very nice working environment, you want to maintain it, right? So I think that is one of the qualities of Ancelotti that he has maintained over the years. But the way he works every day, he has just continued to evolve. And every time I meet him, when I meet him, I can sense, you know, and look around the people, how they're working, that he's so passionate still, which is also very important.
Yeah.
I had only experience, he was walking past me in the press conference room, and I had the same feeling about him, and I didn't even speak to him. Is he the best manager in the world?
Well, the numbers are clear. I think for sure in the Champions League he has set his record. And you know, there's so many great managers. It's always a bit difficult to say just one, but in terms of what he has achieved and with which team he has achieved it, because of course being in Madrid is not easy for no coach. We have seen so many go there and not perform well. So I think he is. I think he is the one that has created a consistency in his performance that not many have done.
But when you see Carlo Ancelotti and his teams like AC Milan before and now Real Madrid, there are a lot of great players, and it's not simple to manage these players, you know, and make the team. So how can he solve it?
Well, I think people have the wrong perception of that. I think the better the players, the bigger the players, the more champion they are, the easier actually it is to manage it, because you know, you don't have to tell them how to shoot a ball, you don't have to tell them many things, how to be professional. It's exactly creating that right environment, and he naturally has that feeling how to prepare important matches, how to make sure that everybody respects at the end what they need to do in the pitch when having the ball and when they don't have the ball. That's why you see from Vinicius or Rodrigo or Mbappé, they all run. they are all running back and help whenever they need to help, also defensively, because that is the only way you will be able to win. And the other thing is that he is not worried at all to put all equality in the pitch to play together, and those things are much appreciated by talented players, because the more talent you have around you, the easier it is also to perform.
You mentioned some of the names of the players which are ruling the football world nowadays. Who is the one you like watching the most on the pitch?
Watching the most, I mean, I'm so happy that Mbappé is now back to himself, completely integrated. Vinicius in the last years has been incredible. I think he's struggling a little bit more now to find his consistency. But Mbappé, I think, is an incredible talent. Yeah.
And at your position, who is like similar to you when you have to compare some player?
I don't compare. People like to compare, but I think everybody is unique at the end, and also it's just really difficult to play the way I did, and I didn't play like anybody else either. I think everybody really is unique.
So you don't want to see like the titles in the newspaper. This is the new Seedorf.
Well, that is fine, but what does that really mean? Is it because the impact you have on the team? You know, it can be more general than just the way of playing. Because I think when I look at impact, in my time you had Yaya Touré, for example, who came right after us, who was very impactful as a midfielder. De Bruyne, very impactful as a midfielder. There was a time that Isco was also incredibly impactful as a midfielder, doing those things that I would also be doing. But then to compare the style of play, that is, I think everybody is unique. Modric, yeah, Modric in the last, Kroos, but Kroos was a different. Kroos was more maybe pilot style. Yeah. Then you know, yeah. So I think Scholes, very impactful midfielders, Gerrard, but completely different players, you know. But they had amazing impact, and I think that is how we should look at it.
Listening you speaking about the football and all things around that, I'm sad that I wouldn't be able to comment your actual matches. But it was a pleasure to talk about football with you, Clarence. Thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you very much. And loučíme se i s vámi. Clarencovi jsme poděkovali za to, že nás navštívil, a vám děkujeme za pozornost. Doufáme, že jste si to dnes s námi užili, a do budoucna my doufáme, že se nám takových podobných speciálních dílů podaří přinést ještě víc a víc. Mějte se krásně a zase příště, ahoj.
Mějte se hezky.